The night escape. The night was not quiet. It was full of growls. The sound came from the dark forest, heavy and hungry. The alien girl ran as fast as her legs could carry her. Her bare feet hit the cold ground, slipping on roots and stones, but she did not stop. Behind her, she could hear claws scraping against rock. The monsters were close. Too close. Her chest burned. Her breath came in sharp gasps. She had been running for hours, maybe the whole night. She could not remember. She only knew one thing: if she stopped, she would die. The forest seemed endless, a black maze of shadows. Strange eyes flashed between the trees. The air was heavy, wet, and carried the smell of blood. She had lost everything: her home, her people, her family, all taken by the monsters. Now they hunted her like she was the last piece of meat left in the world. A branch snapped behind her. She stumbled, almost fell, but forced herself forward. Her heart was hammering like a drum inside her chest. The monsters were not just hunting her. They were playing with her. She could feel it. They were waiting for her to collapse. Waiting for her to be too weak to rise again. She bit her lip hard to stay awake. The copper taste of blood filled her mouth. She whispered to herself, "Just one more step. Just one more step." But her body wanted to give up. Then, light. It was small, soft, but real. Through the trees she saw a warm glow, not the cruel eyes of monsters, not the burning fires of her destroyed village. No, this was different. A light from a human house. She stumbled toward it. Her legs almost failed, but the hope inside her pushed her forward. She crawled the last few meters and fell near a small, wooden door. And then she heard it, a sound she had never heard before. Woof! She froze. Out of the shadows came a small creature, not a monster, not a soldier. It was round, with short legs and big eyes that looked both serious and funny at the same time. Its tail wagged like a little flag. The alien girl stared. The creature tilted its head. She had seen terrible things tonight, but this was strange. The creature sniffed her hand. Its nose was wet, its breathing fast, like it was curious but not afraid. She whispered, almost crying, "Please, don't bark." But the little animal did bark. A short, sharp sound. Then to her shock it licked her hand. Warm, friendly, as if it had already decided she was not an enemy. The alien girl's body could no longer fight. She was cold, weak, and trembling. Slowly she leaned against the wall near the door. The small animal, a pug, sat down beside her. Its warm body pressed against hers, sharing heat. For the first time that night she felt safe. Her eyes closed, though her mind screamed to stay awake. Somewhere in the forest she could still hear the distant howls of the monsters. But here, at this door with this strange little creature by her side, she let her body rest. The pug curled against her. Its breathing was steady, calm. The girl's hand rested on its soft fur. She did not know its name. She did not know why it trusted her, but in that moment she felt a bond stronger than fear. Hours passed. The sky began to pale. A soft light touched the trees. Dawn was coming. The night of horror was almost over. The girl stirred. Her body ached, but she was alive. She looked down at the small pug, who now snored softly in her lap. For a second she almost smiled, and then footsteps. Slow, heavy, human. The pug's ears twitched. It stood up, tail wagging again. The girl's heart jumped. She pushed herself back against the wall, ready to run if she must. Her eyes fixed on the door as it creaked open. A tall figure appeared in the morning light. A human man, broad-shouldered, his face half in shadow. In one hand he carried a mug of hot drink. In the other he held nothing, but the way he stood spoke of caution, maybe even danger. His eyes went from the pug to the strange alien girl on his doorstep. His expression hardened. The pug barked once, but not at the girl. At the man. The alien. Girl held her breath. The night had been full of monsters. But now, as the first sun rose, she realized something new. Her life was not safe yet. The real test was just beginning. Stranger in the light. The door creaked wider. Morning light spilled across the wooden porch, cutting through the shadows. The alien girl squinted, raising a weak hand to shield her eyes. After a night of running, her body felt heavy, her eyes raw, her wounds burning. The man in the doorway did not move at first. He stood tall, blocking most of the light. His face was rugged, lined with years of hard living, and his jaw was set as if he trusted no one. He wore a simple shirt, sleeves rolled, but his arms looked strong, arms that had known both tools and weapons. His gaze went straight to the strange sight before him. An alien girl curled up against his pug. The pug barked once more, wagging. Its tail then trotted happily toward the man. But halfway it stopped, turned back and barked again, this time at the girl as if telling him, "She stays." The man narrowed his eyes. He stepped onto the porch, his boots heavy on the wooden boards. "What in the world?" he muttered. His voice was deep, tired, but it carried strength. The girl's body tensed. She tried to rise, but pain in her leg forced her back down. She leaned on the wall, breathing fast. Her hands shook as she whispered in broken words, "Please, don't send me away." The man froze. She spoke, not his language perfectly, but enough to show she was not just some beast crawling out of the forest. He looked toward the tree line. The forest was silent, but he knew silence in this land was dangerous. He had heard the howls in the night, distant but real. He had seen the strange tracks in the soil. Something had been hunting, and now, this girl had landed on his doorstep. "Where did you come from?" he asked, his voice low. She shook her head. Her lips trembled. She wanted to speak but could not form the words. Her eyes, wide and shining, said enough: fear. The pug returned to her side and sat firmly beside her, tail wagging against the ground like a small drum. The man noticed this and frowned. His dog was never wrong about people. Still, his instincts told him to be careful. He had lived too long out here to take chances. Strangers brought danger, and this was not just a stranger, it was an alien. He stepped back, scanning the forest again. For a brief second, his ears caught it. A growl. Faint, far, but there. His hand clenched. He didn't carry a weapon now, but weapons waited inside. The girl whispered again, her voice breaking. "They come." The man stiffened. He knew what she meant. His pug barked suddenly, sharp and loud, as if to confirm it. The forest was waking. Something was moving. The man sighed, his face torn between choice and survival. He had built this place to be left alone. He had sworn never to bring war back to his door. But now, fate had dragged it to him anyway. His eyes went back to the girl. She was trembling, her thin arms hugging herself. But there was something in her gaze. Not just fear. Desperation. A silent plea. For a moment, the man thought of turning away, of letting the forest take her. It would be easier. He owed her nothing. He owed no one anything anymore. But then his pug barked again, louder, closer to her. The little dog wagged its tail and pressed against her side as if saying, "She is ours now." The man let out a long breath. His shoulders dropped. "Damn it," he muttered. He reached down and offered his hand. The girl flinched but then stared at it, unsure. Slowly, carefully, she placed her trembling fingers into his palm. His hand was rough, warm, steady. He pulled her up, half carrying her weight. "Inside," he said firmly, "before whatever's out there finds us." She leaned on him, her legs weak, but her eyes never leaving the trees. Together they crossed the doorway. The pug trotted in happily, tail wagging as if proud of its work. The man closed the door behind them with a heavy thud. The lock clicked. Silence returned inside, broken only by the girl's ragged breathing. She sank onto a chair, clutching her side where blood had dried. The man moved to the shelf, pulling down a metal box. He opened it, bandages, small tools, supplies. He glanced at her once more. "You're bleeding bad," he said. "If I help, you better not bring hell to my house." Her lips trembled, but she nodded fast, almost desperately. He crouched, beginning to clean her wounds. She winced, but stayed still. The pug sat nearby, watching like a tiny guard. Outside, faint at first but growing louder, the growls came again, slow, deliberate, closer than before. The man paused, lifting his head. His eyes met the girl's. For the first time he understood. The monsters had followed her, and now they were at his door. Monsters at the door. The cabin shook. At first, it was faint, like the ground shifting under heavy weight. Then came the sound. A slow scrape, long claws dragging against the wooden walls. The pug's ears shot up and it growled, small but fierce. The man froze, bandage still in his hand. His eyes flicked toward the door. The alien girl's face drained, of all color. She knew that sound. She had heard it too many times before. They had found her. Outside, the growls grew deeper, joined by heavy breathing, wet and sharp, like wolves mixed with machines. Something massive circled the house, something hungry. The man stood, every muscle in his body tense. He reached under the table and pulled out an old rifle. The weapon looked worn, patched together, but cared for. His hands moved quickly, loading, it with the speed of long practice. "Stay here," he ordered. His voice was low, steady, but inside his chest his heart pounded. The girl shook her head. "No safe, nowhere safe. They break walls. They break stone." Her voice cracked, urgent. The pug barked sharply, racing to the door, tail stiff, hackles raised. It barked again, louder this time, as if shouting at the monsters to come closer. The man cursed under his breath. He had seen strange tracks before in the forest, but he had never faced the things that made them. Now they were scratching at his home. The scraping grew violent. A thud shook the door. Dust drifted down from the ceiling. The girl covered her ears, whispering words from her own tongue, a chant that sounded like both prayer and fear. The man checked the windows. Shadows moved outside. Huge shapes. At least 3. Maybe more. Their eyes glowed faintly in the rising dawn, like coals in the mist. Then came the first strike. The door boomed inward, the wood cracking, but the lock held. The pug barked furiously, running in circles, ready to defend its territory. The man raised his rifle. "If you've brought death to me, girl," he muttered, "then I'll take a few with me before I go." The girl lifted her trembling hands. Her skin glowed faintly, pale light seeping through her fingers. The man saw it but said nothing. He didn't have time for questions. Another crash shook the walls. Claws pierced the wood, curling inward, pulling splinters free. A growl rolled through the cabin, vibrating the floorboards. The girl whispered, "They smell me. They never stop." The man's jaw tightened. He aimed at the nearest window. A shadow passed. He fired. The shot cracked like thunder, echoing through the forest. Something screamed outside, high, inhuman, furious. The cabin filled with silence for a breath. Then the growls came again, louder, angrier. The pug barked in rhythm with the pounding at the door. The alien girl's glow grew stronger, her hands shaking as light spread across her skin like veins of fire. The man's eyes widened, but before he could speak, the wall behind them buckled. Wood splintered, boards cracked, and a massive claw ripped through. The girl cried out. The pug lunged at the hole, barking with fearless rage. The man swung his rifle and fired again. Another scream tore through the air. Blood, dark and thick, splattered the wall. The monsters retreated a step, but they didn't leave. They circled, growling, waiting for weakness. The man grabbed a lantern from the table, lit it, and hurled it through the broken window. Flames burst outside, spreading light. For the first time he saw them clearly. They were tall, twisted creatures, part muscle, part bone, part machine. Their jaws split wide, teeth shining, eyes glowing red like burning metal. Their claws dripped with blood from old kills. They were hunters made for only one thing: pursuit. The girl's glow pulsed brighter. She stood, though her legs shook. She raised her hands toward the broken wall. Her voice rang out, not in human words but in a strange chant. Light burst from her palms, slamming into the air. A wave of white force struck the monsters, pushing them back. They shrieked, clawing at the earth, stunned by her power. The man stared in disbelief. His rifle almost slipped from his hands. "What the hell are you?" he whispered. The girl fell to her knees, gasping, the glow fading from her skin. Sweat poured down her face. She had no strength left. The monsters howled in anger but kept their distance, circling the house. They had tested the defenses. They had seen her power, and now they would wait. The man lowered his rifle slowly. He looked at the girl, at the pug who refused to leave her side, barking at the shadows outside. His cabin was no longer just his. His quiet life was gone. He realized the truth as the dawn light grew brighter across the sky. The monsters had not come for him. They had come for her, and if he let her stay, they would never stop coming. The secret. She hides. The morning air was heavy with silence. The monsters had retreated into the trees, but their presence lingered like a shadow over the cabin. The man checked every window, his rifle always close, while the pug paced the floor, with sharp barks that refused to fade. The alien girl sat slumped in the chair, her skin pale, her body shaking from weakness. Her glow was gone, but the memory of it burned in the man's mind. He had seen her push back the monsters with light. No ordinary creature could do that. He turned to her at last. His voice was sharp, demanding. "What are you?" The girl looked down. Her fingers clutched the edge of her dress, twisting the fabric tight. For a long moment she said nothing. The only sound was the pug's nails clicking against the floor as it circled. Finally, in a whisper, she answered, "I am last." The man frowned. "Last of what?" Her eyes lifted, shimmering with pain and something heavier. "Memory. My people, gone. My village, gone. Monsters take all. I run. Only me left." Her words were broken but clear. The man leaned against the wall, his jaw set. He had seen loss before. He had buried too many people himself. But there was something else in her voice, something she wasn't saying. He crouched in front of her, his rifle resting across his knees. His eyes were hard. "Those things aren't chasing you for no reason. Tell me the truth. Why are they after you?" The girl's lips trembled. She turned her face away as if the truth itself could summon the monsters. The pug whined softly, climbing onto her lap. She stroked its head, her hand trembling. The comfort seemed to give her strength. She took a slow breath, then another. Finally, she spoke. "They want what I carry." The man's eyes narrowed. "Carry? You mean something hidden?" The girl nodded, her hand pressed against her chest. "Inside me, not metal, not stone, code, energy, a seed." The word seed hung in the air, strange and heavy. The man frowned. "Explain." Her voice broke, but she forced the words out. "Long ago, my people, guard power, not weapon, not tool, a seed of creation, can make life, can end it. Monsters, born to hunt it, to hunt me." She bowed her head, tears dripping onto the pug's fur. "I am last guardian. If I fall and seed falls, monsters give seed to masters, then all worlds burn." The man stood slowly. His chest tightened with disbelief, but deep down, he knew she wasn't lying. He had seen the monsters with his own eyes. He had felt the way they attacked, focused only on her. She was the key. He rubbed a hand across his face. He had chosen this cabin to escape war, to escape people, to escape everything. Yet here it was again, crashing into his life. The girl whispered, "You send me away. They follow. You keep me. Here they follow." No safe. Her words struck him like truth. He looked at the broken wall where claws had torn through the boards. His home was no fortress, not against creatures like that. The pug barked once, sharp and decisive, as if giving its own opinion. The man almost laughed at the absurdity. Even his dog seemed to choose her side. He crouched again, meeting her frightened eyes. You're saying I have two choices. Throw you out there, let them kill you, or keep you here and fight them until they tear us apart. Her eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Yes. He studied her for a long moment. His instinct screamed to push her away, to protect his quiet life. But something deeper stirred. Something human. He had once fought for people who couldn't fight for themselves. He had sworn never to again, but looking at her, this trembling, desperate girl clutching his small dog like the last light in the dark, he knew he couldn't turn his back. Damn it, he muttered under his breath. The girl blinked, confused. You... help? The man stood, loading another clip into his rifle. His voice was grim but steady. I don't know what kind of war you dragged to my door, but if those things want you, they'll have to go through me first. For the first time, the girl's lips curved into a faint, trembling smile. She bowed her head. Thank you. The pug barked happily, wagging its tail like it understood every word. But outside, the forest was not silent. Far in the distance, the growls returned, low, rolling, endless. The ground seemed to hum with their numbers. The man tightened his grip on the rifle. He knew this was only the beginning. The monsters would return. And next time, they would not come in threes. They would come in swarms. Flight through the wasteland. The cabin smelled of smoke and blood. The walls were cracked, the floor scarred by claws. The man stood at the window, rifle in hand, scanning the tree line. The monsters had vanished into the mist, but he knew they were not gone. They were waiting, always waiting. Behind him, the alien girl wrapped old cloth around her wounded leg. The pug sat at her feet, watching her with steady eyes, as if guarding her every move. She moved slowly, her face pale, but she did not complain. Finally, the man turned from the window. His voice was firm. We can't stay here. This place won't hold another attack. The girl looked up sharply. Leave? Go where? He tightened the strap of his pack. Anywhere but here. They'll come back, and this house will be nothing but firewood. Her lips parted, as if she wanted to argue, but no words came. She knew he was right. The monsters never stopped. The pug barked once, tail wagging, as if it had already chosen, as if it was ready for the road. The man gathered supplies, food, water, ammunition. His movements were quick, practiced. He was not new to survival. He had walked wastelands before. He had built this cabin far from the world to forget the past, but now the past had walked back into his life. He looked at the girl. She tried to stand but stumbled. Without a word, he moved to her side, slipping her arm over his shoulder. She froze at the sudden contact but let him lift her. You walk as far as you can, he said. When you fall, I'll carry you. Her eyes softened. She gave the smallest nod. The pug barked again, impatient this time, pawing at the door. The man opened it. Dawn spilled across the land, gray and endless. The forest stretched behind them, dark and hungry. Ahead lay the wasteland, dry earth, broken ruins, bones of old wars. The doors boomed. A crack split the metal. Through it, a red eye glowed, unblinking, hungry. The man raised his rifle. Here they come. The first monster smashed through, jaws wide, claws dripping. The man fired. The shot tore through its skull, spraying sparks and blood. It collapsed, but two more forced their way in, snarling, eyes blazing. The pug darted forward, barking wildly, circling one monster's legs. It snapped at the little dog, but the pug dodged, fast and clever, leading it away just long enough for the man's bullet to find its mark. The girl's glow flared brighter. Her voice rose in a chant, words older than the wasteland itself. The console blazed with light, symbols racing across the screen, but more monsters pushed through the broken door. 5, then 10, then more behind them. Their bodies filled the hallway, claws scraping, jaws snapping. The man fought with everything he had. Every shot echoed like thunder, every reload faster than thought. His arms ached, his shoulder burned, but he did not stop. He would not let them reach her. Still the swarm pressed closer. One monster lunged past his shot, claws stretching toward the girl. The pug leapt. Its small teeth sank into the monster's leg. It was laughable, absurd. But it was enough. The monster stumbled just long enough for the man's rifle to blast it down. The girl gasped, sweat dripping, her glow so bright it filled the chamber. Almost done. The man gritted his teeth, stepping forward, using his body as a shield. He swung the rifle like a club when bullets ran out, smashing a monster's jaw. Another claw cut his arm, blood spilling, but he stood firm. The girl's chant grew louder, desperate. The console screamed with sound, lights flaring like fire. Then, silence. The glow burst outward, a wave of pure white. It swept through the facility, through the doors, through the wasteland beyond. Monsters shrieked, their bodies convulsing, metal burning, flesh dissolving. One by one they collapsed into ash, their howls fading into nothing. The ground shook once, then stilled. The air grew quiet. The man lowered his rifle slowly. Smoke curled from the ruins of the monsters. The pug barked once, then sat, panting, tongue hanging out as if proud of its victory. The girl collapsed forward, the glow leaving her body. The man caught her before she hit the floor. Her skin was pale, her breath shallow, but her eyes opened slowly. "It's done," she whispered. "Seed safe. Monsters gone." He stared at her, chest heaving. For the first time, he allowed himself a small, weary smile. "You did it," she shook her head faintly. "Not me. Us. You. Your small warrior." Her gaze drifted to the pug, who wagged its tail happily at the sound of praise. The man laughed, rough and tired. He pulled her gently to her feet. Outside, dawn broke across the wasteland, sunlight spilling into the facility. The monsters were gone. The silence was real. The girl leaned against him, her eyes soft. "What now?" He looked out at the rising sun. His cabin was gone, his old life burned. But for the first time in years, he felt something he thought was lost. Purpose. "Now," he said firmly, "we start again." The pug barked, running ahead into the sunlight, leading the way, and, together, the man, the alien girl, and the fearless little dog stepped out into the dawn of a new world. The horizon was vast, empty, and uncertain. They stepped out. The wasteland greeted them with silence. The air was dry, sharp in the lungs. The ground cracked under every step. Here and there stood the skeletons of machines, rusted shells half buried in sand. Towers broken in half, roads split and swallowed by earth. The pug trotted ahead, nose to the ground, tail wagging. It barked once, then ran a few paces forward, as if guiding them. The man followed, the girl leaning heavily against him. His rifle was ready, his eyes scanning the ruins. He knew dangers lived out here, raiders, machines gone mad, storms that ate flesh and metal alike. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, burning their backs. The girl's steps grew slower, her breath ragged. Finally, she whispered, "Wait." The man lowered her gently against a stone wall, what remained of an old building. She closed her eyes, clutching her chest as if something inside burned. He crouched beside her. "What's happening?" She shook her head. "The seed, heavy, harder every day. Monsters smell it. Always closer." The man's jaw tightened. He wanted to ask more, but the pug barked suddenly. It stood stiff, ears flat, facing the horizon. The man raised his rifle. In the distance, shapes moved. At first, only shadows in the dust. Then clearer, tall, twisted forms climbing over the broken ground. "The monsters. They found us," the man muttered. The girl forced herself up, her body shaking. Run. Leave me. They want me, not you. But he ignored her words. He grabbed her arm, pulling her forward. Not happening. The pug barked wildly, then darted toward a narrow path between broken towers. The man followed, half dragging the girl. Their steps echoed in the hollow ruins. Dust filled the air, every breath like fire. Behind them, the monsters howled. The sound shook the air, a chorus of rage. Claws scraped stone, the earth trembling under their weight. The girl's vision blurred, but she kept moving, leaning against the man's strength. She whispered, "Why? Why help me?" He didn't look at her. His eyes were on the path ahead, rifle ready. "Because I don't leave people to die. Not anymore." The pug barked from ahead, waiting at a half-buried gate. The man shoved it, open, pulling her through. They stumbled into a hollow valley filled with broken machines and twisted metal trees. For a moment, silence. Only the sound of their breaths, then a faint hum. The girl's eyes widened. "This place. I know this place." The man turned sharply. "What is it?" Her hand trembled as she pointed to the shattered towers rising around them. "Old facility. My people built here. Secrets inside. Maybe hope." The pug barked once, standing at the doorway of a rusted building, tail wagging. The man stared at the ruins, then at the horizon where shadows moved closer. The monsters were coming. Fast. His chest tightened. There was no choice. "Then we go. Inside," he said. "Whatever secrets are in there, they'd better be worth it." The girl's eyes glowed faintly, the light returning for a brief moment. "They are." The man tightened his grip on the rifle, the pug leading the way into the ruins. Behind them, the wasteland howled with the sound of monsters closing in. The lost facility. The gate groaned as it closed behind them. Rust flakes fell like dust. Inside, the air was cooler, thick with the smell of metal and old oil. The man raised his rifle, scanning the shadows. The alien girl leaned on him, her body weak but her eyes wide, searching every corner. The pug trotted ahead, nose twitching, tail wagging nervously. The facility stretched around them like a skeleton of another age. Broken screens lined the walls, wires hung like vines, and shattered glass crunched beneath their boots. Faded symbols glowed faintly on cracked panels written in a language the man didn't know, but the girl did. She touched one wall with trembling fingers. "My people built this long ago." Her voice echoed, soft but filled with weight. The man frowned. "Why here? Why hide in this wasteland?" She closed her eyes for a moment, as if remembering. "Not hide, guard. This place had made monsters." The man stiffened. His grip on the rifle tightened. "You mean the things outside? Those beasts?" She nodded slowly. "They are not beasts. They are weapons. Born here. Grown here. Programmed to hunt. My people swore to stop them. But we failed." The pug barked sharply, its little body tense. The man swung the rifle toward the dark hallway. Lights flickered. Something shifted in the shadows. He moved carefully, guiding the girl deeper. "If this place made them, maybe it has a way to kill them too." The girl's lips trembled, but she nodded. "Maybe." They passed through a wide chamber. Broken pods lined the floor, their glass shattered from within. Inside lay remains, twisted bones fused with metal, fragments of claws, long dead but still terrifying. The man knelt, brushing dust from one pod. His jaw clenched. "Experiments," the girl whispered. "Weapons to end war." But they only made worse. The pug growled suddenly. Its small body faced the far door, ears flat. The man aimed his rifle. The door slid open with a screech. Inside, dim blue lights flickered to life one by one, illuminating rows of machines still humming after all these years. In the center stood a console, its screen cracked but glowing faintly. Strange symbols scrolled across it, shifting like water. The girl gasped. She stumbled forward, clutching the console with both hands. Her glow returned, faint at first, then stronger. The screen responded, lines of code bending, changing, as if recognizing her. The man lowered his rifle slightly, watching in silence. The girl's voice was soft, almost reverent. "This is why they hunt me. The seed inside me is a key. Without me, this place stays asleep. With me, it wakes." The console beeped, lights across the room flickering on. Old machines hummed louder, like a giant heartbeat. The man's chest tightened. "Wait," he said quickly. "If you wake this place, won't they come faster?" She turned to him, her eyes glowing with strange light. "They are already coming. Only way to end is here." Before he could reply, alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the walls. A robotic voice, broken by age, echoed, "Containment breach. Specimens active." The man swore under his breath. He raised his rifle again. "What did you just do?" The girl shook her head. "Not me. They never died. They slept. Now they wake." From the far end of the hall came the sound. Not just growls this time. Hisses. Metal grinding. Heavy steps echoing closer. The pug barked furiously, tail stiff, body ready. The man positioned himself between the girl and the sound. His rifle aimed, steady though his breath quickened. "Guess this place is still alive." The girl's glow pulsed brighter. She placed her hand back on the console, chanting words in her language. The screen shifted again, new lines of symbols flashing. She gasped. "Here, I can shut them. I can stop them from waking more, but need time." The man glanced at her, then at the hallway where shadows grew larger. He adjusted his grip on the rifle. "Then take it. Buy you time. That's my job now." The pug barked once, as if agreeing. The girl's glow spread across her whole body, casting strange light. On the walls, machines responded, gears turning, locks sealing, codes rewriting, but the hallway shook. Figures appeared, monsters, larger than before, their jaws lined with metal teeth, their claws sparking against the ground. Their eyes glowed red, fixed. On her, the man fired. The shot rang out, echoing through the chamber. One monster shrieked, stumbling back, but another lunged forward. The pug darted to the side, barking wildly, distracting it. The girl cried out, sweat dripping down her face, but her hand stayed on the console. Almost there. The monsters closed in. The man reloaded, firing again and again, each shot echoing like thunder. Blood and sparks filled the air. Still, more came. Finally, the console blared with a deep tone. The girl's glow burst outward, a wave of light sweeping through the facility. Machines roared, pods sealed. The hallway doors slammed shut, trapping the monsters outside. Silence. The girl collapsed to her knees, gasping. The glow faded, leaving her pale and trembling. The man lowered his rifle slowly, chest heaving. The pug patted back, tail wagging weakly, tongue hanging out. The girl looked up, eyes wet but filled with determination. "Now you see. This is not just fight to live. This is war to stop them forever." The man stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded once, grimly. And outside, muffled by steel doors, the howls rose again. The swarm was coming. Dawn of the last stand. The facility trembled. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Outside, the howls of the monsters shook the air like thunder. The steel doors rattled as claws scraped against them, again and again, growing louder, each second. The man stood with his rifle ready. His jaw was tight, eyes locked on the doors. He had fought battles before, but never like this. Never against an endless swarm bred only to hunt. Beside him, the alien girl knelt by the console, her glow flickering weakly. She had poured all her strength into sealing the pods, but she was not finished. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "I can end them, one strike, but I need more time." The man nodded once. His voice was calm, steady. "Then I'll give you time." The pug barked, sharp and fearless, tail stiff. It ran to the door, planting itself between the monsters and its strange little family. Small, ridiculous, yet unbroken. The girl reached out, placing a trembling hand on the man's arm. If I fail, if I fall, you must leave me. He shook, his head firmly. Not happening. Her eyes filled with tears, but she said no more. She turned back to the console, her glow spreading once again across the room. The machines hummed, gears turning, old power rising like a storm.